Okay, thank you very much, Ron Nirenberg, for joining us. And you have a big announcement, obviously, coming up. So this is going to air after the announcement, but what kind of led up to this decision for you to run for Bexar County Judge?
Yeah, well, as I've talked about what I can contribute to the continued progress of our community and what is necessary to solve the challenges of our day, it's really about continued progress at the local level. The things that will move our community forward, solving the issues of housing and economic mobility and cost of living, those issues are happening here at the local level, not on the Senate floor in Austin. What we need to do is make sure that we're getting the most out of the capacity of every level of our public sector, and that includes county government.
So 8 years as the City of San Antonio mayor. Now you're going to be ideally working with the Commissioner's Court at the county level. How do you feel that experience moving from the city to the county will kind of help you out in this endeavor?
Well, they're very similar jobs that require the same skill set. A county judge in Texas is the same as a county executive in most other places, or a county mayor in places like Tennessee. It is about collaboration and teamwork. It's about working across sectors, about making sure that we listen to the community, identify the challenges, and move the community forward through diplomacy and teamwork.
So you talked a little bit about some of the local issues and some of the local government that you want to touch on. Was that part of the reason why you decided against running for a position in the state of Texas?
Well, I know there's a lot of rumors since I left office, a lot of chatter about my political future. I've always approached it as, what can I do to be impactful and helpful to the community I live in? So all that chatter was flattering. It wasn't coming from me, but as the conversations unfold, my heart continued to come back to San Antonio and the challenges that we face throughout this region in Bexar County, and what we need to do here locally to be proactive, to be more efficient with the limited resources that we have, to make sure that we're more transparent and accessible as a government. That's the kind of work we did as when I was mayor of San Antonio, and that's the kind of work I'll do as county judge.
Mayor, I know in recent interviews we've talked to you about the not only the Guajolote Ranch development, but also the Edwards Aquifer. How do you balance some of the development that's outside the county with making sure that we protect our primary water source?
Well, look, there are many competing concerns. Obviously, we are in a housing crisis all across the country. Certainly true here in San Antonio. We developed a strategic housing implementation plan that is region-wide, and it's being implemented right now. Our partners, our home builders, our nonprofits, we're all working together to address the housing situation. But let's be very clear. The most important consideration for the livelihood of residents in this region, all 2.5 million people in this area, the most important consideration is the protection of the Edwards Aquifer. If we ever compromise the aquifer, there goes our security. Economically, there goes our life in terms of our primary source of drinking water. So it's incumbent upon leaders, as it was when I was a city councilman, as it was when I was a mayor, and certainly as it will be when I'm a county judge. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we take care of our natural resources, and that first and foremost comes with the Edwards Aquifer.
Let's talk Prop B. You were a proponent for it, and it did pass. Ultimately, the voters did have their say on this. But how do you make sure that the east side ultimately gets what is promised to them, and they do continue to kind of have this idea about redeveloping the east side, the Freeman Coliseum grounds, but also making sure that the urban core is protected for all Bexar County residents and people that are going to be basically kind of going to downtown as well?
Well, first, let's acknowledge that the cynicism and the mistrust of these kinds of developments is well-founded. It's understood, because there have been deals in the past where people have been promised things and never comes through. So the first thing we have to recognize is that trust won't be restored until we actually execute their plans. So the first thing I think we need to do is make sure that East Side residents are at the table, driving the ideas and the actual concepts that will be part of the economic development out there. Right now, that's not happening. We've got to make sure that those doors are opened for community dialogue, to have them self-determine what the revitalization of the East Side looks like, because that's what they've been waiting for 30 years. The second part is having leadership focused on getting a good deal for East Side residents. We need to make sure that we're getting the most out of the resources that we're putting in, and that means leveraging the opportunities in the private sector. And you've got to have a leader that's going to be focused, that's going to negotiate, that's going to be experienced enough to make sure that all those things happen and continues to move forward. We can't continue to have, plans made that sit on shelves. We got to execute those plans.
Let's talk about the Bexar County Jail. Obviously, we've run several stories about some of the challenges that they're facing, overtime issues. There's maybe some issues also with lower morale. So what are some things that you would like to see change with the jail, or what are some reforms that you're looking forward to?
Well, we've got to fully fund our justice system. It's not just about the jail. Let's be clear. There's 1,000 plus, 1,500 plus backlog over the DA's office because they lack resources to actually adjudicate those cases. We've got to get people who don't need to be in jail out so we can put violent offenders in, so we don't have people walking around that have just committed a crime, a violent crime. So that requires resources at the DA's office so we can actually deliver justice. The second is making sure that public safety, the actual first responders, have the resources that they need, and personnel contingents are at the level that they need to be for a growing community like ours. And then we have to tackle the issue that's been simmering since literally a decade ago, before I became mayor, this new intake process that has not been addressed. The city and the county have to work together to solve that issue. We can't have one side dictating the other. And so bringing people together to solve that issue comprehensively, and that will determine what we need to do with the facility itself. I think we have to be open to big ideas with respect to the jail because the conditions there also warrant us to be thinking outside of the box. But it's also a capacity issue. So I think we need to bring the best ideas to the table, not be scared to collaborate. And that's the role I played as mayor, is to convene people. That's what I'll do in this case.
You kind of brought up the district attorney's office. There's been a lot of conversation about prosecution and getting justice for a lot of these families that have maybe gone through some pretty traumatic or tragic incidents.
Right.
What are some things that you'd like to see potentially change within the DA's office?
Well, we have to acknowledge that there's going to be a changing of the guard in the DA's office to begin with. So this is a good opportunity to look at that comprehensively. But I think it starts with making sure the DA's office is listened to in terms of the resources necessary to adjudicate cases. I don't think anybody likes to see the backlog that's there, but in order for us to deal with that backlog, justice has to be served through actually dealing with those cases. Everyone is due their fair hearing, and that's not able to happen when there's simply not enough prosecutors, there's not enough resources within the justice system itself to deliver justice timely the way every resident is obligated under the Constitution.
Ron, I'll kind of leave this a little bit open to you, but what do you feel right now is the single most pressing issue in Bexar County at this moment, and the immediate plan to maybe address it, whether it's property tax relief, workforce development? I'll kind of leave that open to you.
So I think there's two things. There's a process issue. There's an issue inside the government dome, and then there's an issue that people are facing. The single biggest issue that people are facing is the inability to keep up with the cost of living. So we have to deal with the affordability crisis. We've been doing it at the city through housing, through transportation options, through workforce and education. Those are a little bit more upstream. But the affordability crisis encompasses a lot of things, including access to health care, which is a primary responsibility of the county. The county has authority over one of the largest taxpayer-funded health systems in the state, University Health System. That needs to be part of the equation with respect to closing the healthcare access gap and dealing with the mental health crisis. The issue inside the dome is a lack of coordination, a lack of teamwork. It's very reactive. We need to be showing initiative. We need to be working across sectors. The turf wars that have grown significantly between the city and the county need to end. We need to have people work together. We do our best work as a community when we're working together. That's what this city thrives on. We have so many disadvantages here. We're able to deal with those and overcome those and thrive when we're working together. That's what I want to focus on.
Ron, I got to ask you about this because obviously the current judge, Peter Sakai, has been pretty vocal about this decision that you're going to be making. Any sort of anything that you'd like to kind of share on that end, and just in response to some of the things that he's either posted on social media about fights within the Democratic Party or anything else about his concerns with, I guess, your dedication or your commitment to this position?
Well, as I said, there's been a lot of people talking about my political future. Some of it's been very flattering, but I continue to come back to the needs of this community and what I am equipped to do to move our community forward. I'm not running against Peter. I'm running for the future of this county, and that's going to be my focus moving forward.
Okay, last one around, just your thoughts and feelings, just the excitement as you kind of step back into this ring.
You know, excitement's probably not the right word. It's it's an anticipation. You know, the last 12 years have been exhilarating, high intensity, some of the most challenging times any city, town, or county have faced in this country in a generation. We brought this community together and we thrived through it, and we're able to build a foundation for the future. What I am most looking forward to is continuing to roll up my sleeves with this community and build on that foundation and move us forward. There's nothing that we can't do in this community when we're working together, and I know we will as we step into this.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, man.